One second, friends. So okay. Tom said he thought it was updated. So I'm assuming that it's just there's a snag or something. All right. This is professional, right? This is riveting stuff, especially for you podcast listeners out there with no clue what's going on. Hey, what's going on? Welcome. I'm doing you guys a favor. I'm trying to get our tools updated on the back end. They updated them, but I think maybe there was a snag or something. So all of this is for you and for us to have a better show. Welcome to the Stochastic.com NFL Showdown Strategy Show. Dave Loughran, Matt Gajewski. Hey, back to our old start time, man. Remember, we always did these at 9 a.m., bright and early. And for one time this season, this might be the only time. Actually, no, we'll probably have some other weird, like obscure days where we got to mix things around. We're back to 8 a.m. for you there in Wisconsin.
Bright and early, but gives the people one extra hour to take this content in and use it to their advantage tonight. So I'm all about the early shows.
You know, I haven't talked to you in a while since it hasn't been NFL season. And I meant to tell you, I channeled my inner Gajewski lately, and people think it's this, like friends of mine who I talk to about this think it's disgusting. I've been eating the tuna straight out of the can, and the big ones too, like the 49 grams of protein per can, just straight out of the can. And I'm talking sometimes in the morning, just waking up, crushing a can of tuna with nothing on it. And every time I do, I think about you. There's enough salt in tuna where everyone that thinks it's actually not that bad. You're right.
No, man, it's not bad at all. People that think it's bad are just cowards. Like, you can't just wake up eating trick cereal for breakfast every day. If you want to be a man, you eat your tuna, you eat your eggs. That's just how it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Crush.
Like, I would love to eat Oreos for breakfast, but I'm a man. I eat real food.
Damn right, man. I usually go, how many eggs? Are you doing 4 eggs?
I eat 6 at a time.
Okay. All right. Never mind. I do usually, but see, you don't do cheese. I like to mix in a little Americana cheese.
I just eat them plain.
Yeah, of course. I go 4-egg omelet, but I throw in a little bit of cheese, some onions, green and red peppers. Oh, dude, I've been making phenomenal omelets lately. But to your point, real men eat eggs. It also natural testosterone booster. Did you know that?
Eggs are?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not surprised. As long as you just like avoid tricks and stupid breakfast foods, you're probably not going to damage your testosterone. Just like eat real food and you should be okay.
All right. Well, I won't tell a lie. So during the game yesterday, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to have any beers. I'm not going to drink. I know I'll be up late. Got to be up early. I did, however, crush a huge bowl of Cinnamon Toast Crunch at 10:45 p.m.
A late night snack too.
I try not to eat. That's my weakness. Not even a weakness, because I won't eat a bunch of crap, but I still once in a while will. I don't eat cereal in the morning, but at night, I highly recommend you try it, Matt. It's delicious.
I mean, you can do stuff like that. You just can't do it all the time. Like,
of course.
Life is balance.
Of course. Anyway, happy to have you guys with us. We got everything updating now. Heck of a day yesterday. But look, Xavier Worthy. Where are you? Where are you at? Where are you at, CB from Live Before a Lot? What a first game. And Isaiah Likely. Look, I don't want to do the Friday morning quarterbacking and overreact here. The amount of usage that he saw, and you could be like, well, Mark Andrews was hurt. Yeah, but Mark Andrews was on the field a lot. The amount of usage that Likely saw, 27% target share, 5% target share for Andrews, 9 for 111 and a touchdown. Also missing one by a toe for Likely. Here's the craziest part to me, Matt. It's not even the usage and the snap counts and the overall production, the box score production, as much as this one single factor for me. The fact that Isaiah Likely was targeted on 5 of Lamar Jackson's 9 pass attempts on the final drive in the 2-minute drill against the Kansas City team that knocked them out of the playoffs last year, and Andrews saw 0 of them. To me, that is extraordinarily telling.
For sure. And I won't pretend like I thought Likely was going to have a game like that. I certainly didn't. But we talked about paths for him playing more because he showed a lot at the end of last season. But we knew they weren't going to play 12 personnel. I don't know what the final numbers were, but teams rarely eclipse like 30%. I would guess they were probably slightly higher than that. You also have to take into account they play like Ricard a lot, who counts, and he's basically a sixth lineman. But it was just if Likely plays more, do the snaps come from Bateman? Do they come from Flowers? I didn't think they would come from Andrews, but that's largely where they came from. And the Ravens have an excellent problem on their hands. They have arguably 2 top 6 tight ends in the NFL, the least top 10. It's hard to play them both because of their overlapping skill sets. But at this point, how do we keep Likely off the field? And that's a pretty good problem to have. But yeah, I was certainly wrong on that. I did not think he would eclipse Andrews like he did.
I certainly think he'd be involved based on the everything out of training camp and how good he is, but I didn't expect that. Like, I thought he'd play a complementary role to Mark Andrews, and I think that's reasonable. I didn't expect him to be the number 1 pass catcher and targeted player on the team. One more thing, because we try and, set you guys up for success here, not just for tonight, but for the coming weeks as well. I thought outside of a few, stalled out drives in the first half, I thought the Ravens offense looked good, Matt. I thought Lamar made some really incredible throws. Justice Hill was super involved very involved as a pass catcher. I mentioned this yesterday. I'll say it again today. I don't really think that Derrick Henry is going to be a needle mover with that offensive line. I don't. I even coming into the year, I'm like, cool, they got Derrick Henry. That's great. But you probably could have done the same thing with Gus Edwards. Call it blasphemous. I don't really care. I think Derrick Henry's good, but he's not who he once was. Like, I don't think that moves the needle. It's going to come down to Lamar Jackson again.
The biggest thing you said there that I want to highlight is their offensive line. Yeah. They were changing offensive linemen from the first to the second drive. They brought in Rosengarten from Washington, their rookie. First play he's on the field just gets, and Spagnola's a genius, lines Chris Jones right up against him. That was the Lamar fumble play, immediate turnover. So, like, props to Spagnola, and the Ravens did not do enough to address their offensive line. They'll need some serious growth from their young players. Otherwise, they're going to have opportunities to lose games because of it.
Yeah, or you're going to see Lamar get hurt. But my God, his ability to escape is something else. But Patrick Mahomes, he might not run like Lamar. Does anybody avoid a sack for not being known as like a highly mobile quarterback? Does anybody evade pressure as good as him and find guys downfield? I mean, it's unbelievable. It's the last thing we have to talk about with this game. But he's so good at finding the open. I don't know how you're going to stop this offense. Isaiah Pacheco runs with a chip on his shoulder, just max effort on, am I wrong though? Like, max effort on every touch against a good defense. Now you have Wordy, you have Rashee Rice, who after the catch is just electric. You hardly heard Travis Kelce's name yesterday, and you don't even have Hollywood Brown back yet. This team is nuts.
We talked about this yesterday. Last year was the Chiefs' down year. The rest of the NFL messed around, let them win a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Now they will need crazy variance, or they'll need a Mahomes injury to give up or to get a chance to win this again. They're the best team, and it's not particularly close.
I agree. Hey, let's talk some Friday night football. Happy as always to have you guys with us. This is a special treat, huh? Friday night football in Brazil. Eagles.
I don't know why they're doing that, but yeah.
It's so terribly dumb. Well, no, we all know exactly why they're doing it. I just wish they wouldn't.
They're trying to get money.
Yeah, it's a money grab for sure. For sure. The players are not happy with. I mean, could you imagine having to go to Brazil to play week 1 of the season? Like, that would suck.
I know, and they threw them, an olive branch. You'll play on Friday. You get 1 extra day of rest.
Yeah, exactly.
The Packers have like a 2-hour commute to the stadium.
It's crazy. Here we are. Anyway, happy to have you guys here. If you don't mind, take 1 single second, atone for your sins this morning. Hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below. And remember, you ever want to listen in podcast form Apple Podcasts, Spotify. You can do that. We're out there anywhere you want to listen. We got you covered. Maybe you want to avoid the ads on YouTube. You don't have YouTube Premium. We got you. All right. Ready to talk some Friday Night Football?
Oh, yeah. Two of my favorite teams, two explosive offenses. This should be a lot of fun.
Let's do it. So, Eagles, Packers. Eagles 2.5-point favorites. Pretty significant total in this game. And this is almost where I want to start. No one better to ask than yourself. Looking at this game, you've got overhauls at the coordinator positions, right? You now have Kellen Moore as the offensive coordinator for the Eagles. They had a monumental collapse down the stretch last year, going 1-6 over their last 7 games. Awful. Maybe it was the last 1-5 over the last 6, but that doesn't matter. Actually 2-point favorites now, 49.5-point total. Vic Fangio comes in as defensive coordinator. For the Packers, you have Jeff Hafley that came in because their defense last year could not stop the run. But we'll start with the Eagles here. What type of changes do you expect to see based on what we know about Kellen Moore and his time as the offensive coordinator, both in Dallas and in Los Angeles?
I think it's going to be more stuff in the weeds. I'm not expecting massive shifts in plays per game, seconds per play, or pass rate, but I do expect them to use a lot more motion, make a lot more checks at the line of scrimmage before the snap is actually delivered to the quarterback, stuff they just flat out weren't doing last year. Their motion rate was egregiously low last year. These are things your offensive coordinator can do to help your quarterback, to help your offense. It's sort of the low-hanging fruit of the NFL, especially when you have a guy like Jalen Hurts, who's not known as the best processor. They weren't doing any of that. So expecting Kellen Moore to come in and handle some of that stuff, maybe take a little more off Jalen Hurts' plate, and hopefully turn the offense into what we saw in, the first 8 games of the year. The other thing I think people will talk about is the QB sneak stuff. You might know more about this, like listening to the Philly media who's at practice every day and stuff, but I think they're going to retain that. It all comes down to having a new center, but he's been with the program and he was mentored by Kelsey. So Hurts also, he still hurts. I would expect this to still be successful and something they implement. For the Packers, I think you're just hoping
real quick, are you talking about like the tush push?
Yeah, I just hate people calling it that. It's a QB sneak is what it is. Like, I don't know why we've called it QB sneak for all of eternity, and suddenly Jalen Hurts and Kelsey do it, and now it's the tush push. Like,
how about the brotherly shove? That's a good one.
It's better than tush push.
I know, I'm not a huge fan.
Still a QB sneak. Like, all you're doing is QB sneaking it.
Well, here's what I'll say about this. You lose Kelsey, but as you mentioned, the guy coming in behind him was his protege. Like, he mentored him. But also, now in the backfield, you have a guy that squats more than Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley. Guy's got horse legs. So, seriously, it might even be better this year than it was.
You have a legitimate option at the goal line.
Yep. Yeah. No, so, I think they'll absolutely retain that. Talk a bit. Yeah, go ahead on the Packers too. This is good to lay the foundation for the season.
Yeah, they were basically trying to crucify their previous defensive coordinator all season. And finally, you bring in someone who hypothetically should be able to revolutionize things. I don't know what the defense is necessarily going to look like at Boston College, where he was the head coach. They played a ton of like single high end stuff. So the safety position is very important to their defense. And they bring in McKinney, who's one of the best safeties in the league, a huge contract. That's just not like a defensive look you see a lot in the NFL. So I still have questions on what their defense overall is going to look like. But you bring in a guy whose specialty is defense, you would hope it's better. The Packers have invested a ton of early draft capital into their defense and gotten very little from it, especially at the linebacker position. And Eric Stokes has been hurt, so it's hard to really knock him for performance. But they definitely need more out of their defense considering what they've invested in it.
I think one of the primary focuses here, and I've read on it, I've looked at what Hafley's had to say is run defense, being able to stop the run, because that was a big issue last year. And then for the Eagles, they couldn't stop the pass. For a team that started off 10-1, if you go back and look at their season numbers defensively, as far as the passing defense went, they were basically the worst in the league along with the Commanders. I mean, they were horrible. So,
they drafted Lucas Van Ness in the first round. Guy barely played. They've drafted Devontae Wyatt really high, barely.
No, I'm talking
played.
about the Eagles.
Oh,
I'm saying the Packers need to plug up the run defense. The Eagles' pass defense last year was as bad as it gets. But hold on to what you were saying. They brought back C.J. Gardner-Johnson. They drafted Quinion Mitchell. James Bradbury, you're not going to see. This guy was playing with the backups in the second half in the preseason. I think he's hurt anyway. But maybe it's better, Matt.
They've invested a ton in the back end. Just
Yeah.
the youth, I think, helps them a lot. Like Cooper DeJean, if he can be healthy too, he's a player that was highly drafted. They have a lot of draft capital invested in the back end. It's just young. So maybe it takes some time for Philly, but it's no longer, like old man James Bradbury out there or Avonte Maddox. Those players are still there. Bradbury's on IR, but Maddox is there, but hopefully he can play more of a depth role, and that should benefit your defense. Like Quinion Mitchell and DeJean are elite athletes. Once they get on the field and get some reps under them, you'd think it's better.
I think it will be. I put it this way. I don't think it's going to be nearly as bad as it was last year. That'd be probably a better way to put this one, right? Maddox was hurt basically all of last year too.
They were trotting out some real old men.
Somewhat.
Some real old men.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw Bradbury got hurt. I didn't even know they placed him on the IR because that's probably a net positive for the Eagles. Just get rid of that man. Anyway, let's start with the Eagles in the backfield. A lot of people talking about, oh, well, Kenneth Gainwell, Kenny Gainwell has just been the bane of my existence for a long time. Like I think he's the most pedestrian runner. I think he's fine, but just, I don't see why this guy needs to be getting more than, spell back touches, a few a game, maybe, 3 on the ground, the target or 2 through the air. When you give Saquon Barkley this much money, they have not paid a running back like this in forever. I can't remember the last time, if ever, that they have. In terms of like, not the amount of money, but where he ranks among other running backs. You had Miles Sanders on a rookie contract, let him go. You brought DeAndre Swift in for nothing. I just don't see how they don't heavily feature and utilize Saquon Barkley. I think he's going to be on the field far more than you've seen from Sanders and DeAndre Swift in the past.
I agree with you. I kind of like the Saquon signing too. If you look at just like the contract differences between some guys that hit free agency and what Saquon got, like the Devin Singletary contract, the DeAndre Swift contract, I would rather just pay a little bit more for Saquon Barkley. It's like you get an elite player at the position. Yeah, you have to spend more, and people will argue running backs devalued. But at some point, you need to look at the gap in contracts and be like, all right, well, if you can get Saquon Barkley for only a little bit more than a Devin Singletary, I'll happily do that. But with the investment, I agree with you. DeAndre Swift was woefully inefficient last year, woefully. Kenny Gainwell's a limited player. I think you broke that down fabulously. There's no reason to play Kenny Gainwell other than because DeAndre Swift can't get it done on passing downs. And I think they honestly might have even drafted the heir apparent in Will Shipley, who was an excellent pass catcher at Clemson. We'll see what his role is.
Oh, you like Shipley?
Yeah, I mean, he was the number 1 running back recruit in his class and has done nothing but dominate college football and then played behind an atrocious Clemson offensive line in his final season. So kind of a bad rap for him. But to your point, Saquon Barkley, this should be, I think, a similar workload to what we saw in New York, but he's no longer playing behind the worst offensive line in football. The only concern, I think, with Saquon is the QB sneak stuff. If they're around the goal line, it's still probably Jalen Hurts. So if you're like breaking ties and stuff with projections, which this should be accounted for, that's the only hesitation I have.
And it's a legitimate one. But at the same time, once again, I still think you see more goal line opportunities from Saquon Barkley than you did from a guy like DeAndre Swift. I just can't imagine they don't intend on using him, in a larger capacity. Also, DeAndre Swift had chances last year at the goal line or inside the 10. He just was not good there. Like,
he was bad everywhere.
Get this, Matt. You'll appreciate this. just including running backs. DeAndre Swift had the 7th most attempts inside of the 10-yard line. 27 attempts inside the 10-yard line last year. That is a lot. That's on par with Gus Edwards, David Montgomery, Kyron Williams. Hurts had 29. So when you think about it, there's still going to be a lot of those chances for Saquon Barkley. My guess is more.
Absolutely. He's a better player than Swift. Still a good offense. They should have plenty of trips to the red zone where he can take advantage of that. Just like the only problem is when you get down to the 1, it's like auto Hurts.
Yeah, that's a little bit different for sure. Yeah, at the 1 is auto Hurts because it's an auto touchdown.
It definitely should be auto Hurts, but it still hurts Saquon a little bit. I mean, at the end of the day, he's, especially for like DFS and stuff, I think he's still a very strong play. I think you might honestly get leverage with him. He's a player I want to watch throughout the day because right now we have him. When I ran my first sim, I didn't get as much of him as I thought. And we'll talk about like roster construction, I'm sure, later. But again, it's week 1. It's the least amount of information you have available to you. I think you want to research this yourself, make stands where you can and where you need to. But this Saquon Barkley role is definitely something to watch throughout the day.
If you want to talk automatic, by the way, Hurts had 16 attempts inside the 5 last year for 18 yards and 13 touchdowns.
It is an automatic play. They started running it from like the 2 and 3, and they're just like, well, if it's second down from the 3-yard line, we have 2 more downs. If we can't get the full 3, we'll just get 1, 1, and 1.
And we'll probably just get 3 on the first one, honestly.
That happened plenty too, yeah.
I like Barkley today. And I just think he's going to be heavily utilized. And I really wouldn't be surprised to see his price point increase and see him more expensive in coming weeks. You know, Green Bay has a new DC. Maybe they do shore up that defense. It's definitely possible. But in the preseason, those starters really only saw 1 or 2 drives throughout the entirety of the preseason. This is a lot of uncharted territory. The Eagles starters haven't seen any snaps throughout the preseason. But Barkley at 9,400, I am not shying away from that. And we usually, you know this, we usually have running backs negatively leveraged in the tools. It's just the way it is. So I totally understand it. You know, less correlation too with the pass catch or with the quarterbacks than the quarterbacks have with the pass catchers. But I still have interest in Saquon Barkley in this spot only because I think it's possible that people are under projecting his volume.
That's very possible.
And especially in week 1, Matt, where you're still trying to integrate these guys into a new system, right? Like a new system where you haven't played in the preseason. I wouldn't be surprised if this game is close to see them try to run the ball more.
I wouldn't be surprised either, especially with some of the woes the passing game had down the stretch last year. And if you see Will Shipley emerge, it's probably not week 1. Rookies take some time. I'm with you on Kenneth Gainwell. I'm not sure what he does for you outside of like 3rd and long snaps. So yeah, there's actually a pretty good chance that he's under projected. Plus you have the goal line volatility stuff. You mentioned how strong Saquon is. Even if it's just a little less frequent with the QB sneak, that would help Saquon a lot. So he's definitely under projected if you believe that stuff. And he's not somebody, just glancing at our tools, who's going to project all that well price adjusted. And it's largely just because Josh Jacobs is too cheap. The quarterbacks have high projections. AJ Brown is a monster projection. There's a lot of studs on the slate. But if he continues to fall through the cracks and its ownership falls, this is a spot where I might be making a little manual adjustment to boost his ROI.
On Barkley?
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. What do you want to do with the pass catchers? This is not an easy team. With AJ Brown, with Devontae Smith, you know, even somebody like Dallas Goedert, who's I'd say pretty reasonably priced. I shouldn't say it's not an easy team, but you have the 1 in AJ Brown. He's clearly the 1. Devontae Smith is clearly the 2. I don't know what you're going to get out of Jahan Dotson. I can't say I'm super thrilled about that after him just joining the team recently. Like, I don't know how much does he end up being a Quez Watkins type guy, but you've got some steep price points on guys like AJ Brown and Devontae Smith today.
Well deserved, especially for an AJ Brown. I
Yeah.
think you mentioned it. Just far and away the number one. I think he proved it is not a 1A, 1B situation in Philly. It is a 1, and Devonta Smith is clearly a 2, a very good 2, but still a 2. Honestly, I'm a little surprised their projection gap is as narrow as it is. They're very close in terms of price adjusted value on this slate. I vastly prefer AJ Brown for ceiling. And this probably is just a spot where with Devonta Smith, I'd be considering going to guys like Barkley or some other studs if he's going to be owned. That remains to be seen. Monitor this throughout the day. But I did not find the slate to be all that difficult pricing. You just have to choose your studs. It's pretty easy to get 4 or 5 of them, but you have to pick which ones you want. I would rather find the salary to get to AJ Brown than, go Devonta Smith and a mid-range player, if that's how it comes down to it.
That makes sense to me. Yeah, AJ Brown's dominant. Do you expect to see Jair Alexander on anyone specific?
That I'm not sure about it, because just like Hafley coming in, I'm not sure how he's going to treat it.
That's
honestly shadowing is very, very rare. So I would be surprised, but you never know with a new DC.
Yeah, you're right. And it was only a few years ago that shadowing wasn't rare.
It's changed a lot. And I think some of this is just because of coverages, like Mahomes is killing you. You need to play like very specific zones that don't allow as much man and shadowing in that case. It's just like a very dynamic sport and things change a lot.
Also, AJ Brown just is big enough to where he can usually come down with anything regardless. If I were to rank them, for me, it's AJ Brown, clearly number one, followed by Devonta Smith. And we're going to build a lineup out. Also, I'll talk about some Sims results. We got live before lock tonight as well, where we'll go over the Sims and everything. So there's that. And then I think I would still go Goddard over Jahan Dotson. The only question I have for you now is that price difference from Goddard to Jahan Dotson enough for you to say, hey, he actually might look a little bit better?
I'm not playing Dotson outside of large field stuff.
Okay.
We have no idea what his role is going to be.
No.
Dallas Goedert's going to be on the field every single play.
Exactly.
Target share is certainly going to trail AJ Brown and Devonta Smith, but we know this. It's also factored into his price. He's firmly in the mid-range. I don't know that Jahan Dotson's the clear wide receiver 3. First of all, this team uses 12 personnel on occasion. They do weird formations at times where they have 2 running backs. And then you have other players that are highly skilled at specific things. Johnny Wilson's a guy who's not going to be on the field every single play, but because of his massive size, I wouldn't be surprised if the Eagles have specific plays for a guy like that, specific packages. Jahan Dotson is just kind of like a jack of all trades, master of none. He was one of the least efficient receivers in the entire NFL last year. Some of that could probably be blamed on Eric Bieniemy and Sam Howell. But before that, it wasn't great either. So just like really, really large questions loom with Dotson. I will say the Eagles have been a franchise that has rehabilitated a lot of these former first rounders, Hassan Reddick being a primary example. So perhaps Dotson has some left in the tank, but he did also join the team during training camp. He hasn't been there a long time. So there's just a lot of questions for me: talent, role, recency with the team. Who knows with Dotson? I'm pretty much out unless, I don't know. He'd have to just be like a last man in type situation because of the price.
Yeah, I'm with you. The way I look at Dotson is I'm not fully out. And the only reason I'm not fully out is because he's inexpensive and it's a 50-point total game. And, they might just get him in there and it's a showdown slate, Matt. But this is also, when I say that, this is like, he's definitely negatively leveraged. He should be cheaper. I think this was kind of an insurance policy / luxury trade that they made with Washington, right? Just to have that guy in case one of their top guys goes down. Jahan Dotson, you would agree, he's certainly not the worst guy to fill in if Devonta Smith goes down. He's not who you want, but he's better than Paris Campbell was. So I don't think it's crazy, but I'm with you that Dallas Goedert at that price point, also a red zone target when he's healthy, is the better option there. And then Jalen Hurts. There's There's no two ways around it. Jalen Hurts, if you're playing Jalen Hurts at the captain spot, if you're playing Jalen Hurts at the utility spot, I don't even know if there's analysis to be had here outside of he's actually cheaper than AJ Brown. And I don't fully understand that.
He's the best play on the slate. It's a Lamar Jackson situation.
Yep.
Do you want to play him at captain? Do you want to play him at flex? You just need to be careful about what you're doing with the rest of your lineup because he will be highly owned. We have that taken into account. When I ran the Sims this morning, still got 40% in the captain. And then, he's in my personal lineups, he ends up only at 59% in the flex, which might seem a little low, but combined, that's like a 99% exposure to Jalen Hurts.
Incredible. Lundar, single game tool is loading the correct players for me. Yeah, me too. Someone had asked, the stochastic single lineup tool for the Green Bay game loads out with Baltimore and Kansas City. No, just refresh it. It pops up. I assume it popped up fine for you, Matt. I see main slate on here and I see Green Bay versus, you have it up there, right?
Yeah, it's all good for me. Well, they were updating a lot of our tools right as the show is starting. So if you just refresh, you should be fine.
Yeah. Also, guys, if you missed last night, it shouldn't matter because still now through Monday, everything on the site is $1. The core weekly package, right? That'll transfer in the core monthly, but the core weekly package, you're talking Friday night. Then you've got nothing on Saturday, but Sunday early slate, which has huge contests, Sunday main slate, Sunday afternoon, Sunday night, Sunday obscure slates. Not that you have to play all of them. I won't. And then Monday night, which is going to be a milli maker again with Jets, San Francisco. That's 8 different slates, maybe more. Not $1 each. This isn't 8. This is $1 for the single lineup sim that you've seen us demonstrating every day now. The amount of comments and DMs and tweets and messages that we've gotten saying, this is the best tool. I love this. It was built for me. I love hand building, but I want instant feedback on all of my lineups. I want to see the simulated ROI on my lineups. I keep building them and building them. This tool has probably been the most widely accepted and kind of celebrated tool that we've had. I'm really excited about it. But ownership, player projections, top stack tool, boom bust tool, join the premium Discord. Guys, if you do this, jump in the Discord. If you have questions, you want to say hello, join a community, jump in there as well. And of course, the Sims tool, which won people millions of dollars last year. And I say that because it's real. We had Short Gamer TV win a milli. Steve Buzzard won a milli. We just had Coach S win a milli in MLB the other day using the stochastic Sims tools. So, or the stochastic tools. If you haven't done it yet, link is in the description and in chat. All of those slates for $1. I should do a 3-second read on this and just be like, it's $1. Use the tools, but I want you to know what you're getting, and I think you're going to love it. So say what's up in Discord when you do, and if you have any questions, hit us up. Watch Greg's tutorials. It's going to go a long way for you. You're going to absolutely love these tools, man. And if you don't, you're down $1. That's the silver lining. That's the good part. Anyway, links down there in the description and in chat. Jacob threw them in chat as well. All right. Anything else for Philly that we haven't discussed, Matt? You got anyone you want to unearth at the bottom?
I don't think so. It's just Johnny Wilson should get a handful of plays, I would guess, because of his size. Just a unique mismatch on the field. But what does that role look like? I'm not really anticipating it being anything more than a handful of snaps. He would be a large field tournament play. Outside of that, there's not too much interest, just very questionable roles across the board for these guys.
Hey, by the way, to your point, Johnny Wilson in joint practices and practices was being used as a end zone target because of his size.
The Eagles are a really unique team with their late round picks. I love what they do. Sometimes they just draft guys because of one singular skill set, but it's because they're an alien at something.
Yeah.
And Johnny Wilson is that, but then he has the potential to be a good receiver in the NFL too if he shows the right development. I mean, this is a guy that had his career stunted early on before he joined Florida State. So there's still hope for Johnny Wilson being a full-time receiver. And at worst, they have an alien at one particular skill.
They draft specialists sometimes. You're right. All right. An alien or aliens. Green Bay?
Green Bay.
All right. I think we said enough on Jalen Hurts. There's not really much more that needs to be said about him. So what's up?
Jalen Hurts is awesome.
Yeah.
Also, don't search Johnny Wilson in Twitter. And I look on the picture section.
Tell me it's a porn star.
I don't know, man. Last year when he was playing at Florida State, I was at a coffee shop and I'm trying to find injury information on Johnny Wilson. My computer screen is facing everyone there. And great name for a porn star.
That's why I asked.
Yeah, just dicks on my computer on Twitter back before they had some of the filters for that stuff. I'm like, geez, all I want to know is if the guy's practicing.
I think they may have filtered this stuff out because I'm scrolling and scrolling.
This was last year when he was at Florida State.
I mean, I guess it's sick that I'm scrolling trying to find trying to find the big hog on the screen, Matt, but I'm pretty far down the page and I'm still coming up empty-handed, metaphorically speaking, of course. Yeah, I think they may have fixed it because no cocks on screen for me. Just good. Johnny Wilson.
I mean, this was a full year ago. I would not try to replicate it either.
I should ask them to revert back to the way it was. All right, let's talk Green Bay. Did I spell Johnny right? Yeah, I got Johnny right. All right. Green Bay. Jordan Love. Was there any bigger dichotomy of first and second half of the season than Jordan Love last year? He stunk in the first half.
Maybe Jalen Hurts the other way.
Yeah, seriously. That's a great point.
Those two probably.
That's a great point. Because you remember how bad he was under pressure. He was really bad to start the season. Like just nothing was, and then he on a dime, just complete pivot, total 180. And, he brought so many guys to life. Jaden Reed had a great second half. Romeo Doubs, Christian Watson, when he was healthy, had some big games. They really looked good. I'd be lying to you if I said I know exactly what to expect out of this Green Bay team this year. I don't know. I think it's very possible that Jordan Love is somewhere in the middle of what we saw the last two seasons, or maybe he just had rapid development that came out of nowhere and this is who he is.
It's very hard to say because of the small sample.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that I think kind of works in his favor is essentially everyone on the offense was a rookie or a second-year player outside of Aaron Jones who got hurt, and then they just played dust at running back anyway. So there was a lot of development that needed to happen alongside Jordan Love for them to maximize that talent. You see guys like Watson, he's basically played 1 year because of all the injuries he's had, but Musgrave, Wicks, Tucker Kraft, Jaden Reed, bunch of rookies or first-year players, and they got better throughout the year alongside Love. So I would agree with you that it's probably somewhere in the middle of that horrific play early in the season and the electric play we saw at the end, but I would skew it a little closer to the electric play just with all the growth that the other players had alongside him. But we have this taken into account in our projections, and obviously very smart people are as well. You can look at Vegas spreads, props. Jordan Love's expected to have a good game here, but not like Patrick Mahomes level.
And a lot of options. By the way, Jack Adams said, I'm a little late, but the single lineup sim is giving the wrong captain amounts. It looks fine to me. I just looked at it. Every captain amount lines up for me.
It lines up for me too. Again, just refresh. These things were updating.
Yeah.
So maybe it's just you caught it like as it was working through.
Yeah, so. Remember, it's pretty early. Usually we don't update this stuff till 10 a.m., but the guys on the back end did us a solid and updated them so we'd have them for the show.
It looks fine to me. So I would just recommend refreshing, and then if it's not working, we can.
That's probably the last comment I'll mention, but I just so everyone knows, for Matt and myself, everything looks fine. Unless maybe when you put them in, does it look different? Let's see. Nope. No, it's fine for me. So a lot of young talent on offense. And now you have Josh Jacobs and no more Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones, I love that man. But it's Josh Jacobs. And then behind Josh Jacobs, I don't really know what we should expect here because Dylan, who did Is there a guy that we shit on more than Dylan last year? Right?
Dude, I feel bad for some of the things I said. I
you
feel
had some
bad.
choice words. Yeah, you absolutely did.
He seems like a nice guy. I live in Wisconsin. He does a lot for like the community and things. You can say a guy's bad without getting overboard, which I'm sorry, AJ. I didn't mean anything like anything personal.
From what I've seen, AJ Dillon is like a remarkably decent person for sure.
Everything that he does for the community suggests that, yeah.
Yeah. I mentioned it was week 5 and you and I were just like, don't, this guy stinks. He just runs into the offensive. We're not wrong, by the way. However, I still remember that game. He had 76 yards and a touchdown. And I'm looking at it. I'm like, yeah, the guy, I'm pretty sure Aaron Jones got hurt. He had 76 yards on 20 attempts and which is 3.8 yards per attempt, and a rush of 11. So I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, yeah, because everyone was talking shit to us on Twitter. Like, yep, that's the best you're going to get. You guys got 20 carries for 76. That's the best you're going to get. But he's not there anymore. And Lloyd has been hurt, basically all summer? So is this just a massive volume game for Josh Jacobs against a really stout defensive line for Philly?
I think it is a massive game for Josh Jacobs. You bring up a good point. So what is the Packers game plan coming in? I would expect a slightly heavier pass rate than what we saw at times last year. Well, they do run the ball, and Jacobs has proven himself to be an adequate pass catcher. I do think he's the one on the field. You just don't have any other options. Marshawn Lloyd, a rookie who missed time in camp. Most people didn't even think he was going to play in this game. Emmanuel Wilson, this is a UDFA running back. He's been with the team like bouncing between the roster and the practice squad for years. So I guess there's some familiarity, but this is still barely borderline NFL talent. We really want him spelling Josh Jacobs for any actual amount of work. I don't think that's likely. So this is kind of like Pacheco last night to me. It's just when he's on the field, Josh Jacobs, I think, has to be the guy that is involved. You just don't have any other options.
Yeah, it just took everything out of me not to crack up at this. Einstein must have remembered from last year. He said, Matt said he looks like he's running in jeans. That is what you said too.
I did say that. I remember it now.
I knew there was something that stuck with me, and I couldn't remember that he was running in jeans.
He does look like he's running in jeans.
So good. Who do you like better, Jacobs or Barkley today?
I think Jacobs is safer, but I think if you were just to bank upside, look at upside for these two players, it's similar. The other thing is Jacobs is $1,000 cheaper. You save more money by going to Jacobs. So I think your lineup looks a little better with Jacobs just straight up. And then this has to be like razor thin in projections. We have Jacobs slightly ahead. But I do think there's more volatility in Barkley's for what it's worth.
Oddly, I don't. I like Barkley more than Jacobs today.
I think it's close. Like, I can't really push back.
Yeah. Right. It's definitely close. Definitely close. We haven't seen Saquon Barkley run behind a competent offensive line since like 97. This guy has not had a competent. Sure. When is the last time that he's been healthy with a healthy or semi-decent offensive line?
His rookie season.
Exactly. And he dominated.
He did.
He doesn't even have that much mileage on him either. So, you know what? Maybe I just have rose-colored glasses. Not even because I like the Eagles, but because I love when running backs who I think are good go to a team that can actually support a good running back. And I think this is one of those teams. So, yeah, I like him. I do not know what to do with the pass catchers from Green Bay, though. I mean, let's walk through this because, first of all, at least they're reasonably priced. But Jaden Reed, who, like, is he going to be used in all of these two receiver sets? Right. So that's a concern, right? Romeo Doubs, Christian Watson, and then Dontavian Wicks. There's legitimately 4 guys tonight, Matt. Please don't hesitate to correct me if you think I'm just way off base here.
I don't think you're off base. I agree with everything you said.
There's 4 guys that if one of them finished with the most receiving yards, maybe you put the Dontavian Wicks a little bit below that. Tonight, I wouldn't be like, oh my God, I never saw that coming. It's so tough to project these guys right now in week 1.
They all rotated on off the field. And honestly, I think this could be a spot where projections are volatile for weeks to come.
Yeah.
Because they do different things. Watson's your burner. Dobbs works more under the field, more like a possession type guy, like your prototypical X. Reed can move everywhere. Wicks is he gets a lot of comparisons to Devontae Adams. He's definitely not there yet in his career, but you can see early shades of it. A player that can win everywhere. He has good size. Throughout the preseason, we saw them rotate when they were all healthy, which was sparing last year. They did rotate. And depending on who you're playing, specific matchups the offense identifies, you might see these snaps ebb and flow in particular games. So I have very low confidence in projecting any of them. I would tentatively agree with our projections, which has Reed number 1. Watson and Dobbs are very close, but it is Dobbs ahead of Watson. I think that makes sense, just what we've seen with Dobbs, and he's been very reliable. And then not that far behind you have Wicks. When you look at DFS, though, the 6,800 for Dobbs is pretty challenging to get to when you can just go down 400 and get Reed, who projects higher. Or it's basically a 1-point difference between him and Watson. You save over $1,000, about a 2.5-point difference to go down to Wicks at 54. We'll see how this plays out throughout the day with ownership. I imagine it's going to ebb and flow more than normal because of all the questions. But I think most people are going to gravitate towards Reed and Watson. So then that's going to be an ownership play for me. How much are those guys being played versus the field? Is it to the point where, okay, we want to maybe look at Dobbs and Wicks for contrarian options, or is it not enough and we actually want to play Reed and Watson? Those are the questions I have. But ultimately, to sum this up, I think they're all good plays. Volatile plays. Ownership is going to dictate a lot for me throughout the day.
That's a good point. If ownership's coming in way higher on one guy, why would you not just look to make pivots elsewhere? Especially if Jaden Reed is going to be, the most popular one, which right now is the case. I love Jaden Reed. I think he's a great young player, and we saw it last year. But we were talking, he's not. Okay, I'm going to ask you to do something to help the audience out here. I think this is the best way to do it. If you had to project snap share percentages today, how would you do it?
Dobbs 1, Reed 2, Watson 3, Wicks 4. I would have them all between 45 to 75, 80% of snaps. Dobbs on the higher end, Wicks on the lower.
Okay.
Because
go ahead.
I don't even think this, if you were just to take the 3 wide receivers, add it up to 300% for all the snaps of the 3 guys that play wide receiver. I don't even think that's right, because they have 2 tight ends that play a fair amount. And we saw them in the preseason use double tight end sets, even when Tucker Kraft was hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And Tucker Kraft, again, a lot of people didn't expect him to play. It looks like he's going to give it a go. They just have more options. And they might use a 5th receiver. Last year, Bo Melton gave them a ton. You'll have to watch this and see who's active, because sometimes they use Malik Heath for special team stuff. Last year, there were times where they kept 6 receivers active. But if Bo Melton's active, you might see him get 10 snaps.
Bo Melton was on the field more than 30% of the time in the postseason against San Fran and against the Cowboys. Look at week 20. So that would have been the 49ers game, right? That's who they faced after. Isn't that who they faced after they beat Dallas?
That was a really good game.
Great game. 81% Dobbs, Jaden Reed 61, Dontavian Wicks 40, Christian Watson 55, Bo Melton 25. Week 19 against the Cowboys, Dobbs 70, Reed 46, Wicks 55, Christian Watson 41. It was his first game back after a decent hiatus there. Bo Melton 39.
He's a legit player, man. And there's alternate histories where Bo Melton was a really good recruit. He decided to go to Rutgers against probably his better judgment. Rutgers runs an archaic offense. feel like chooses a reasonable college with a decent quarterback. Like this guy probably could have been drafted at a legitimate place. It's shocking to see him do what he's done with the Packers, but I wouldn't be surprised if they rotate him on the field, man. Like I really wouldn't. When he was on the field with his opportunities, he was good too.
He really was. And I'm convinced that one of these guys is going to make us miserable tonight.
Or rich. Let's hope it's that.
All right. Well, let's say this then. You're playing. Why don't we build a lineup? Why don't we build a lineup? And instead of me asking you how we would do it, let's just do it. Okay. I say we build. Let me see what the field sizes are for some of like the 15, the bubble screen or something like that. Cause maybe we could do a smaller field contest with 10% to first or something like that.
They should be out there. There were some yesterday like that.
But they were pretty big. That's right.
They did do a lot of big ones yesterday.
So let's see. There is where's the 15? Come on. Sometimes I hate how they sort these.
Yeah.
Where's the 15? There's a $5 single entry huddle, but that's still 19K field. That's not small. And then, okay, the bubble screen is 3,100.
That's reasonable. It's not too big.
No. All right, let's try it then. Let's build one here.
All right.
Actually, no, it's in our pool size, it says small contest under 1,000 lineups. So let's do it this way. Large contest, but then 10% to, let me see what the payout here is. It's 10% to first. So let's do that. Let's do large field, but 10% to first.
Okay. So just flat payout, but still large.
Yeah. And before we build this, I should ask you about the tight ends here with Tucker Kraft and what is it, Musgrave? Mm-hmm. Luke Musgrave.
They're both going to play, and they're both going to play a fair amount, which muddies things for everyone else. And they run 12 personnel a fair amount in Green Bay. They've got 7 legitimate receiving options, which doesn't include running backs. So you just have so many things you can do if you're LaFleur in this offense and exploit matchups. And it's going to look different every single week, which is really problematic for DFS. So my real recommendation is leaning on ownership to make your decisions and trying to get some leverage here because it's going to be uncertain. And like next week, people are going to probably make assumptions with the Packers that aren't accurate. So I'm probably going to play the tight ends, especially Kraft gives you a different sort of price point than other players in this offense. Musgrave is pretty close to the receivers, at least the bottom end, but Kraft is interesting to me because of the price point.
Yeah, he is. But I don't love either of those guys today. It's basically just fillers for me.
Do you like Kraft or Dotson more?
Kraft or who?
Dotson.
Probably Kraft.
I think so too.
I don't think it's super far off though. I'll say that much.
Agreed. Kraft barely practiced at all in camp.
And that's my biggest concern. But also Dotson was kind of just signed. So it's, not just signed, not like Samaje Perine a week before the game, but yeah. No, I'd probably go Dotson actually. Let me change that up. We had a super chat from Riley Cooper, the Riley Cooper. Just missed you guys. Fly Eagles fly. Thanks, man. Landon asked Laffy, how do I sign up for the $1 weekly deal? It is in the comments and the description. Or in this chat in the description. If you look at the description, you'll see it right there. $1 for one NFL for week 1 NFL Core Weekly. So that's every slate, every game, every tool that we have for $1. Yeah, right there, dude, right there. And Jacob, you can throw that in the chat. Already did. Thank you, sir. Also, guys, before we build this lineup, whether you're already a sub, whether you aren't a sub, whether you're trying this out for $1, the one thing you could do and should do is go to stochastic.com/HOF and download the avatar and then upload it to wherever it is you play. DraftKings, FanDuel, Yahoo, Owner's Box, doesn't matter. Because if you finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more, no matter the entry fee, could be 15, could be 100, could be a 25-cent entry, you're getting a free month of any Sims Max package. That's a $200 value on NFL. Now we have completely expanded it. It's 1,000 times better than it was last season, because now if you win twice in a calendar year, you get another month that's $200 value plus a free week of any other sport. So say it's during basketball, you want to try out the Sims and the single lineup sim and all the tools for that. You got that on top of another month of NFL. And if you get a third win, again, no matter the entry fee, well, that is the gold tier. You get Sims All Access, Sims Max All Access, $550 value for the entire month. And the crown jewel, of course, $20,000 win or more, the Stochastic Ring. Custom engraved ring with Stochastic Hall of Fame on it, your username, Hall of Fame, spinning display case with the plaque underneath, commemorating your big win with all of that. So it's the best program out there, hands down. If you're not over there yet, I think you will be very pleased with how we have made this as good as humanly possible for anyone who's repping the Stochastic avatar out there in any sport on any site. All right, Matt, captain spot. I want to go Barkley, but I just have a feeling that he's not going to project well for us in the captain spot. And I don't know if I want to do us dirty early out of the gate. So you know what? What am I doing here? Jalen Hurts, captain. Let's go Jalen Hurts, captain.
That's who I would pick too. He just far and away has the best projection on the slate. You could use him in the flex, but you want him somewhere.
All right, Hurts, captain, you're up.
Okay, I am going to pick Dallas Goedert.
I like that. You're trying to just free a little bit up here?
Yes, and today I think the mid-range is particularly strong with all the Green Bay receivers and Goddard. And a lot of people are probably going to go up to a Devontae Smith or an A.J. Brown, then use a Green Bay receiver. It's still a large field tournament. It is flatter, which helps us in the long run. We don't need to be as crazy. But I do think that could be a way to give us some ownership leverage and still get a highly projected player. And, maybe we still play a Packers receiver. We could do a build like that too.
Yeah. I'm so tempted to get weird and plug Barkley in because Kellen Moore is known for throwing to running backs. But at the same time, if we do that, well, honestly, what if you went like Barkley plus Devonta Smith?
You can do a lot on the slate because of the mid-price options.
All right. Just for the sake of us building a lineup that I want to see if we can get a nicely simmed lineup, I'll go a little bit different here from what I'm, thinking about doing. Let's try AJ Brown and see what we get funneled to now that we have 5,800 remaining for 3 players.
Yeah, so we're going to want somebody who's also cheap down here. I think we didn't talk about kickers and defenses. Those are excellent plays in a tournament like this. So I'm going to throw in Christian Watson at 5,600, get a highly projected player who should have a clear role, and then try to fill this out from here.
Okay. Did you say Watson?
Yes.
Okay. I wasn't sure if you said Dobbs or Watson. All right. So Watson, 58. You're right. This mid-range is not bad at all. If you go Jordan Love, that gives you 1,900 for Johnny Wilson. Dude, that's what we should try.
Sim it.
Wonder how popular that's going to be. Probably popular.
You think so? I think a lot of people are going to avoid these guys at the bottom today because we have so many players in the middle.
Maybe.
I mean, I could be wrong. I'm wrong all the time. I was wrong a ton yesterday.
I kind of like that.
I like it too. It's good for a larger field.
Let's see what we get out of it. And Josh Engelman coming up with the MLB strategy show after this. We get a lot of questions like, can you do FanDuel? And I know they will on Live Before Live. Can you run another one? For $1, you can run as many lineups as you want. So keep that in mind. But we would. I would keep this going because Matt and I never have a problem running a few minutes late. But you got Josh Engelman coming up right after this with the MLB strategy show. And you also have 11 o'clock, Greg and myself with the NFL Sim strategy show. Hey, one more thing, guys. So I just signed up on BetMGM when they went live in PA in July, mid-July. I'm looking at Caesars. I'm looking at BetMGM. I'm looking at all of these spots. All of their promos yesterday were garbage. And that first touchdown insurance thing, I don't know why people love that as much as they do. You know what they had yesterday on Bet365, Matt? They had place a $50 same game parlay and get a $10 bonus bet back for every touchdown scored. There were 5 touchdowns in that game, meaning
Pretty nice.
Even if you didn't cash, you got everything back. They also boosted Lamar Jackson touchdowns, 1+ touchdown pass to even money. Crushed that. They were letting some people get down $50 max on that, which is amazing. And when you sign up, place $5 bet and get $200 in bonus bets instantly after it settles. So if you're in one of those Bet365 states, this is the best bonus out there right now when you sign up. But equally, if it's anything like we saw yesterday, I think they're going to have the best boosts, and I think they're going to have the best bonus bet offers. That is free bankroll. That is free stuff that is being injected into your bankroll that you want to take advantage of. You got to be 21 years or older. And, call 1-800-GAMBLER if you have an issue. But that link is in the description for Bet365. And I highly recommend taking advantage of it because I went over there and I got $50 in bonus bets and I got a massive boost on Lamar Jackson. And of course, when I signed up, got a great bonus introductory offer. Matt, anything else before we get out of here? Oh, what did it come out as, Jacob? I was doing that while we waited. What was our ROI on that? Okay.
Hey.
All right. We'll take it. Positively sim lineup. I think it'll be somewhat popular only because Johnny Wilson is, while people don't want to go there, my guess is that Johnny Wilson's going to be a guy that they go to in that type of build.
Yeah, I agree.
Any other thoughts before we go?
I don't think so. I think we hit on it all. Watch ownership throughout the day. I think that's the biggest factor to today's slate.
Also, watch Betting You over on the Odd Shopper channel. You and Ben, people seem to truly love that show.
Yeah, I can't say why, but I'm very appreciative. Thank you guys.
It's a great show. Watching. If you think Matt's NFL breakdowns are complex and intricate, go watch college football. It's wild. Matt Gajewski, Matt_Gajewski on Twitter, me at Laffy_D. Appreciate you guys watching. As always, live before lock tonight, MLB strategy show with Josh Ingleman coming up right now. Peace.